Welcome to Salvage, a podcast for conversations with artists about the repurposed materials they use in their art practice. Please enjoy my conversation with Benjamin Von Wong. Benjamin's work lies at the intersection of fantasy and photography and combines everyday objects with shocking statistics. It has attracted the attention of corporations like Starbucks, Dell, and Nike, and has generated over 100 million views for causes like ocean plastics, electronic waste, and fashion pollution. Benjamin says that he is an artist focused on amplifying positive impact. His mission is to help make positive impact unforgettable. Well, Benjamin, thank you so much for joining me. I am so delighted that you agreed to talk to me twice. First, you spoke to the Repurposer Collective, and now you're here to record a podcast. So thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So I know that I know some of your history, but I hope that you don't mind that we repeat some of it at the start, just so that my audience can learn more about you. Would you say that you were an artist as a kid?
No, I think when I first grew up, I was never really good at anything. My parents, put us through the standard Asian uh, practices. I did violin, I did martial arts, I was on the swim team. They tried putting us through drawing classes, pottery classes, basically anything, any kind of extracurricular activity, we probably did it at least once. And I never showed any promise as a kid. In fact, I was really ordinary at just about everything. And so the fact that I'm an artist, even today, feels a little bit surprising.
Well, that's awesome. I think I like surprises like that.
Yeah.
I think I remember you telling me before that you went to school for engineering.
Yeah, I went to school for hard rock mining engineering, actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Which
so
is
even
nothing I've
more.
ever heard before.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, like gold, silver, copper, it all has to come from somewhere. And
Right.
so we need to figure out how do we get this stuff from miles, miles, and miles below ground and figure out how to get it out to
Yeah.
us. And so I was just basically sitting in front of a computer, calculating how long it would take, how much money, what equipment we would use, how much money we might make, and just go through that little cycle. It's kind of wild.
Wow. Yeah. And then how did you get into photography from there? How did that transition
So
happen?
yeah, I mean, I was working in a mine in Winnemucca, Nevada, which, for those of you who don't know where it is actually really close to Burning Man. I think it's like an
Huh?
hour away from where Burning Man is. And I'd gone from being of legal drinking age in Montreal, legal drinking age is 18, to legal drinking age in US is 21. And so I was 20 years old, went from legal to not being legal. And there's nothing to do in this small town. I mean, there was a Walmart and like a bunch of fast food restaurants and a couple bars and strip clubs. And I was just like, what do I do with myself? And this girl broke up with me in the midst of this, and I was like, wow, I really need a hobby to keep myself busy, otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. And so I was like looking around, looking up at the stars. I'm like, oh, the stars are pretty. Let's try to learn how to take pictures of the stars. And so I went to Walmart, bought a camera, and that's where the journey started.
Oh, wow. So thank you, Walmart.
Yeah, thank you, Walmart. I mean, the camera I bought at Walmart wasn't good enough, so I, went in, bought, an expensive camera, couldn't capture pictures of the stars. I went back, returned it, bought the most expensive camera there. It wasn't good enough. I had to drive to the next city over
Oh,
to find the camera store in Reno, and that's where it all started. So I mean, it was a really like messy beginning, but I was so desperate to find a hobby that it turned out to be perfect.
yeah, that certainly did. And you still have quite an amazing career with photography and video, right?
Yeah, I mean, photography is, I mean, I still take photos. I just think that we take photographs to immortalize the project, and we make videos to tell the story of how the project came to life and all the communities that got involved and why we did it and what the nuances were. Um, but the product, I guess, today that is being sold and transacted is more of like the monument, the art installation, rather than just the photograph. And that was sort of a conscious choice I made somewhat earlier on. I'm still not entirely sure if it's like the full right decision, but photography, I think, has undergone like a massive amount of devaluation over the last like 20, 30 years,
Hmm.
especially because of the advent of digital. Photography just became so much more accessible to everyone, including myself. I mean, I'm a digital baby. Um, And then with the rise of Instagram and all of these different platforms that allow this kind of content to be consumed super rapidly, I think there's just been this dilution of value.
Mm.
And so nowadays, the power of a photograph is, I feel like it has really disappeared. And now you're throwing in AI, you're throwing in all these different mediums of visual creation, and you're competing in a very, very saturated space. And so my idea was actually to run the opposite direction and go like, where is it hard? Like, what are people not doing, and how can I do that in a way that is hopefully um, very useful to the climate movement. And so that's sort of how I landed in this sort of physical spaces.
That's interesting. So, but how did you become essentially an activist, an artivist, an artist activist? Like, how did the transition from photography to activism, to photography in activism happen?
Um, Completely by mistake. I mean, my whole life feels like one big random series of mistakes where I tripped and fell into what I currently am doing. But long story short, I was doing, I had like built up from 10,000 followers on social media when I first quit my job to 350,000 followers over the course of 2 years. And this is before algorithms were a thing. And so
Wow.
those meant that I was actually reaching the people that I was creating for. And along that journey of becoming an influencer and gaining a lot more power or louder voice, if you will,
Hmm.
I started to realize that like there was a certain amount of responsibility that came with that, and that the projects that I was most proud of were always the ones in which I was contributing to a greater cause, something more meaningful. Um, and and in 2015, I got like the biggest job of my entire career, where I was paid more in this one project than my entire career combined at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
And I was like, oh, I've made it. I've made it as a commercial photographer. This is great. And I think most people would stay there and celebrate it and double down on it. I had
Mhm.
this sort of opposite reaction where I was like, oh, this is great, but I'm not sure this is what I really want to be doing with my life, just
Oh,
earning
wow.
lots of money, selling products, building more followers. Like it just felt kind of empty and pointless.
Huh.
And I decided to take a 1 year sabbatical to just figure out how to add impact into my work. Like I just started saying, I said no to every single commercial project that didn't have a social impact angle to it.
Oh, wow.
And that 1 year turned into a year and a half before I got my first job. And that's where I stumbled across environmental issues. It wasn't so much that I wanted to tackle environmental issues. It's just that I started watching documentaries, trying to think about what causes I could support with the
Mhm.
work that I was doing. And I think environmental issues are easier to translate into art because it does not require like the environment doesn't really have a voice of its own, but other like human causes have a lot of voices. And so let's say I wanted to stand up for mental health issues, but if I'm not personally affected by it, then who am I to speak of it?
Right.
Whereas the environment is something that we all benefit from and it doesn't have any like specific ownership of. And so it just lent itself a lot better to the kind of fantastical and surreal work that I was doing.
That
And
makes
so I started just doing a bunch of these projects. They started becoming successful. Then I started learning more about it with each and every project that I did. And I kind of just fell into being an environmentalist. And I really didn't want to be an environmentalist. It's actually really inconvenient to be an environmentalist because now you feel guilty about everything.
That's right.
Um, but anyways, long story short, that's how it started.
Wow. It's so fascinating. So mm, I hope you don't mind me asking this, but do you now earn a living by being an environmentalist essentially?
I mean, I haven't stopped since 2016.
That's
Like since
amazing.
2016, I didn't do I just decided that I was only going to do sort of
Yeah.
mission-driven projects, um, or projects that were like on the road to becoming mission-driven, like
Yeah,
in the sense that like I was learning or growing from it. Um, and yeah, I've never had to go back from that.
that's amazing. That's really amazing
Yeah.
because I think a lot of environmentalists struggle because it's sort of like on the edges of society, being an environmentalist, being an activist. So many people just look down on it and sometimes. So I think what you're doing is just incredible. And to be able to support yourself by doing that is an amazing achievement.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm really lucky because like we don't live in a world like to be like a true environmentalist, well, true. To like it's like it's so hard to exist in a structure that is extractive by nature, right? Like we
Mm,
live in a capitalist society that profits from extracting resources from either people or planets and converting those into goods and services. And so like there are no like existing models that are truly regenerative.
mhm.
I think that we're just barely scratching the surface of what those look like, and it's never going to be the big corporations that are doing it that way. And so the where the money is um, available and where the impact is are like generally in two very different places. And so
Exactly.
I think you need to figure out how to bridge those two worlds as an artist and to like get the funds from the places that have it and then redirect it to the places that need it.
Yeah.
And somehow in the middle of that, stay true to what you believe in, what you care about, and what the world needs, all at the same time, and to be able to communicate it out into the world and to do
Yeah.
things. And so it's this really delicate dance, and
Mhm.
I feel like I've been really lucky to be able to somehow trip and fall and figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's still definitely not like it's not easy. I mean, I definitely think that one of the big challenges that I feel is like, where do I belong? Like,
Mm,
where are the conferences for the people like me that do this kind of work? Where do we go to find funding? Where do we go to find support and inspiration and
absolutely.
ideas and community? It's like there isn't really a category for this kind of stuff, and I find that a little bit
Absolutely.
difficult.
It feels that way. I feel like there's more and more is happening. So eventually there will be, but yeah, at the moment it's a hard place to be in. But you dance it so well.
Yeah, like I said, I think I've gotten lucky. I was
Mhm.
able to build a brand and a name for myself in a time where photography was not particularly competitive. It was like a rising market.
Yeah.
I think I was able to ride the wave of Facebook videos when they were first coming out,
Hmm.
and the generation of clickbait to get a lot of media coverage. I think I was able to like pivot into the experiential world in a time where like not many people were doing waste-based art installations. Now there's a whole lot of people, but when I
Yeah.
first started out, not a lot of people were doing it. And so I managed to carve out a name for myself just barely, and right now, I'm sort of like entering this sort of policy space, like doing work at the United Nations and so forth, in a
Yeah.
time where there is not a lot of art there. And so I am trying to always be right at the tip of where I can possibly place myself, where I think
Hmm.
the work will be meaningful and useful, but where there's also not a lot of competition. And so
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to create new markets and opportunities for myself. And I can't say that I really know what I'm doing, but every year that goes on, I kind of carve through it and I'm like, oh shit, okay. And
Yeah.
so I used to have a lot of scarcity around that, like used to always believe like I don't know when the rug is going to be pulled under me. I don't
Hmm.
know if this is the year where, my entire career is not going to make sense anymore. But now that I've been doing this for almost 15 years, I started in 2008. We're like 2025 now.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like there's a part of me that has been able to like rewrite the story and say like no matter what's going to happen, like I'll figure it out. Like maybe not immediately, maybe
Right.
not first year, second year, but like to have faith in the process and the journey that like I'm out there, I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly experimenting. I seem to be able to adapt quickly enough to different things, just barely quickly enough, that I should at least bet on myself to be able to believe that, like, no,
Yeah.
no, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And I think that's like a big piece of the puzzle is like, how do you stay mentally inspired
Yeah.
in the face of adversity, in the face of like, um, rapidly changing world? It's
I
big, big.
absolutely agree with you. Mindset, having just the right kind of mindset for the work that you do is is imperative. You can't do it without it. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes very hard to find that mindset. I feel for myself, sometimes on some days, I have that mindset. I know I'm doing the right thing. This is, things are going to be okay. And other days, you know, I'm down in the dumps and I'm going, what the heck am I doing
What
this
am I
for?
doing? Yeah, that
How did
that
I get
we all
here?
go through that though, so
Yeah,
it's normal.
it is. It is normal. So I'd love to ask you a few questions about your installations. I mean,
Sure.
you spearhead all these huge groups of people, mostly volunteers, to help you create these amazing installations. Um, I'd love to know more about it. I think I'm really interested if I could ask about a specific, or you can answer in general, however you'd like to. But I was watching videos on your website. Thank you very much for all those videos. Um, Plasticophobia, how did that come about?
Okay, Plasticphobia. Plasticphobia was created in Singapore. It was an art installation that we created out of 18,000 plastic cups um, in collaboration with the Canadian High Commission. How it came about was that the government of Canada wanted me to do an art exhibition, um, and they only had budget to print out some of my old photos
Oh.
and put them on display. And I asked them if they could provide us with a room if we were able to raise outside funding to create a physical art piece, because this was right at the point in time where I was trying to prove that I could transition from photography into art installations.
Hmm.
And they offered us a free space. My friend Laura Francois went out and got some money from a bank. And we basically put 100% of that money into building this art piece to the best of our ability
And
with
where
a
was this
local
piece?
team in Singapore.
Oh, so wait, so the Canadian government wanted you to do an installation in Singapore.
Yes, so
Huh.
Canada has a cultural export program. I think the US
Oh.
also has one where they support the creation of arts, and the celebration of artists
Mhm.
that speak to the values of Canada. And so
Oh.
what does Canada value? Values like diversity, inclusion. It values like Indigenous rights. It values environmental rights and so forth. So in some ways, it's Canada's greenwashing arm if you want to think of it that way, or in another, it's just like what are the values that a country like Canada holds true, and they sometimes have a little bit of budget to allocate towards artists in foreign countries so that they can, you know, draw attention to these
Yes.
issues.
Yeah.
And so um, when we started creating this, I think we were just thinking about like what materials would be interesting, and it just so happens that Singapore has a lot of hawker centers. Hawker centers are essentially like food courts that are just
Okay.
distributed across the entire country, and you that's where you go to get food. And there's just everything is single-use plastics there. And
Mm.
and at the time, I hadn't done anything with plastic cups yet, and so we just reached out to a local government organization there and asked them if they could support us. And we ended up collecting 18,000 plastic cups within a single like a day and a half
Wow.
of just going around and then needing to count them, clean them, organize them. And that's where we were like, okay, we need some help. Who will come show up? And so through social media, through the local partners, um, we just asked if anyone would show up. And I think we had like a couple dozen people come and help out
That's
just
amazing.
to clean all these plastic cups over the course of a couple days. And Joshua Go, who was our fabricator, our builder, who designed this entire physical piece, gave us his workshop space. And so there's some people that were paid, there are other people that were volunteers,
Mhm.
and together we ended up building this thing. And I think like each and every project that I do generally tends to be an opportunity to engage community.
Mhm.
And I think that when we watch the creation of a project like this and we see how many ordinary people are coming together using their unique skills to contribute their little part into the project, that's where you get like a feeling of hope and possibility. You sort of have this lens into what it takes to make the world better. And it isn't just one person coming up with everything, but rather an entire collection of humans coming
Absolutely.
together, contributing their own little unique piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that's really an example of one. And I think over time, my projects have gotten more complex, more interconnected with different causes and organizations.
Mhm.
But the fundamental approach is basically the same.
Yeah. I think that's what I love most about your installations. Not only are they really large and impactful, but you also involve so much of the community in creating it. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so fascinating to me and beautiful. Um,
I mean, one of the other interesting things is like people always say like, oh, like because these art installations aren't cheap, right? They cost tens of thousands, and nowadays they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
wow.
And so it's like, okay, well, there's a lot of money to pour into it, but like, where does that money go? That money invariably goes back to supporting local communities, local builders, local fabricators. It's like it goes back into the local economy to bring something like this to life because not much of it is being kept. Like these art installations generally are really bad money making things. So yeah, they're not
You
profit
get
centers.
So then you get funds from whatever entity is willing to fund it, and then you build each installation locally. So the people who are doing most of the fabricating is who gets paid for it, essentially. Is
Hmm.
that, and then
Fabrication, there's materials,
yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of food and accommodations.
Oh yes. Duh.
It's like basic transportation, like a bunch of stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you probably need a financial person help you keep track of it all.
Yeah, yeah. I wish. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom helps me do a little bit of the accounting stuff.
Oh, that's good.
It's one of the ways that my parents stay involved in the work that we do, which is
Oh, I
kind of
love
fun.
that.
Hmm.
Could you tell me about your mermaid project? I mean, that is just so gorgeous.
Yeah, that was my third environmental project ever. Basically, I was coming home to Montreal for my sister's wedding, and at the time, my mom discovered a mermaid tail designer on Facebook and just sent me a link. And she's like, "Hey, thought you would find this interesting." And I was like, "Oh, super fun. How can I work with this person?" Um, because I wanted to do something meaningful. So I was like, "Okay, well, mermaids live in the ocean. What issues affect the oceans? Oh, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch just got discovered. Maybe there's a way of connecting these two worlds." So then I started exploring what it would take to collect a bunch of plastic bottles. And in my mind, 10,000 seemed like a good number. It was just like a random number. I was talking with some friends about it. DDA, my friend, who was, wanted to do some production and creative stuff. And he was like, oh, let me help you find these bottles. And he ended up just cold calling a couple recycling centers. And one of them answered, Tomra, and they said, all right, cool. We'll give you 10,000 plastic bottles. Where do you want us to drop them off? It'll
Oh my
come in an
God.
18-foot truck. And I was like, oh, crap. I was just going to do this in my garage, but I think I needed something bigger. I ended up reaching out to a person whose wedding I shot a couple years back and asked them if they had access to a warehouse. And he's like a flooring company. And so they had like a space that they could lend us.
Oh wow.
So I had a free space and now in 10,000 plastic bottles. My sister just got married. So then I had a wedding party in town to help me clean these bottles.
I see.
And over the course of a week, we just cleaned, organized, delabeled all these plastic bottles. I found another friend of mine, Guillaume, who helped me rig a camera using um, plywood and pulleys to like suspend a camera directly overhead to create this ocean of plastics. I had found a bunch of equipment to tether my phone or an iPad to my camera so that I could see the scene
Hmm.
from the ground level. And yeah, we just pulled this project off in the course
Wow.
of a week. And the video that we ended up creating and documenting ended up getting 36 million views on Facebook
That's
that I published
amazing.
about 3 months later. And I was like, wow, there's something really here.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
would you say that perhaps maybe that one was really what launched you into these?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mermaid project was the first time that I had actually found a repeatable model.
Mm.
Like prior to that, I had gone storm chasing to raise awareness for climate change, using storms as a metaphor for climate change with like these big brewing supercells.
Mm.
I also tied a model underwater with some sharks swimming around for shark conservation.
Oh wow.
Um, and then this was the third one, but like you can't put storms as a background for everything, or you can't keep tying people down with sharks swimming around for other causes. And so, but this one, when it came to like overconsumption, the topic of overconsumption, you just use a lot of little recognizable things to create something big,
Yeah.
became the default sort of pattern I followed for then a whole bunch of projects, even till today. And right now, I actually have the opposite problem, which is like, how do I get out of just doing that? Like, it's
Well,
gotten a little bit annoying and boring to constantly play with waste. And so right now, I'm in the process of actually trying to do more creative things outside of that.
oh, interesting. So
Yeah.
was your project for, was it COP26 that you just did in, was it Colombia?
Yeah, so that was a UN biodiversity conference. It was COP16
Oh, COP,
specifically
sorry.
for the CBD. I mean, the COPs are really confusing because they all have similar names, right? So COP29 just happened for the climate conference, but then you're like,
Right.
wait, why are we going from COP29 to COP16? Well, COP stands for Conference of the Parties. And
Oh,
so every single time a conference is held around climate, it goes up one number. This one is a conference on biodiversity, but it's also called a COP. And so we just have lots of different COPs for different things, but we
okay.
all use the same nomenclature, so it's super confusing.
Yes.
But
Well, thank you for explaining that. I had no idea.
yeah, but yeah, the last project that I did was a 2.5 story tall Jenga tower, a Jenga art installation, where each and every block represents a different ecosystem. We
Mhm.
had 13 different ecosystems represented across 33 different blocks in this 20 story, like 20 level tall art installation. And from the bottom we had corals, seagrass, kelp forest. And then we go up and we get to the wetlands with mangroves, oyster lagoons, Andean lakes. And then you kind of go up and through like deserts and mountains until you eventually arrive at the rainforest. And we represented this in this giant tower. And then on top of that, we put three children, sculptures of three children, so that we could actually show how we are dependent on nature, on a stable
Uh-huh.
biodiversity. And on the bottom of this art installation, we had a bunch of blocks that had been pulled out. And
Mhm.
these blocks represented different um, the different ways that ecosystems have been destroyed. So leading causes of biodiversity loss, from deforestation to
Mhm.
monocultures, to plastic pollution, chemical pollution, and so forth. And so we had all
Uh,
these different representations. And this was something that was like in the heart of the United Nations Biodiversity Conference. 24,000 delegates from 196 countries would walk by this thing every single day.
that's amazing.
Um, and yeah, and I think for me, that just felt like a cool place to be able to contribute art into.
And it takes you away from using multiple plastic bottles too.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
and that was like the hope, was like to move into another space.
right. And what were those Jenga boxes made from, if you don't mind?
Steel.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
wow.
So it was just metal boxes stacked and welded one on top of another. And the ecosystems themselves were just we had some that were living plants and some that were not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what happened to this sculpture once the conference was done?
We donated it to the Botanical Gardens of Cali.
Oh,
So
oh,
they're hosting the art. I mean, we didn't sell it to them. We just kind of lent it to them on a permanent loan. Hopefully, some rich person comes one day and wants to slap their name on it and like make some money. But for now, I mean, we just thought that this was the best way of making sure that its legacy could continue, that it
hmm.
was a publicly accessible piece that anyone could go and see and enjoy and appreciate. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I love that. It lives on. So,
yeah. It's really hard. Like, it's surprisingly difficult to find like places that have space to host and maintain something. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's always a challenge, and
yeah.
it's expensive. It's so expensive to move these.
Right. Well, especially steel, so heavy, I suppose. I suppose plastic bottles are a little less expensive to move because they're lighter.
They're lighter, but still a lot of logistics involved.
Yeah,
All this stuff just has
yeah,
so many logistics.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I know that I think probably one of the most publicized pieces that you've made was the plastic tap. So
Hmm.
sorry to bring you back to plastic bottles.
Yeah.
Um, what was that made for in the first iteration of it?
So the giant plastic tap has been created like so many times at this point.
Hmm.
But the first one was once again commissioned by the Canadian government.
Oh.
The first version was supposed to be for a gallery in Paris.
Hmm.
like Canada has an art gallery in Paris, and they were looking to create a piece with me. And unfortunately, the time frame that they wanted to commission this was right as COVID was happening, and so the entire country basically shut down,
Mm.
and my trip to France was not possible. And then playing with trash in a time where there was a pandemic going around, had a bunch of security issues.
Mm.
Anyways, long story short, I ended up convincing them to let me build the art installation in Montreal and then shipping it to France
Oh,
on their
wow.
dime. And so what we ended up doing was collecting all these different kinds of plastics. It wasn't just bottles, it was a variety of different plastics,
Mhm.
single-use plastics of all types. We led a 1 month collection
Oh, wow.
in Montreal, where we just tried to collect as much plastics as possible from the community, from people. And then over the course of the next month, cleaned them, organized them, tied them together using strings that we made from 2 liter plastic bottles.
Oh, wow.
And then in parallel, the core of the faucet was being built by a local fabrication shop out of upcycled metal that we scavenged from a building that was about to be demolished.
Oh, that's
And
amazing. Wow.
and yeah, and we found a way of like mounting this giant faucet onto a manual forklift so that you could raise it almost 3 stories high. And then by attaching these plastic bottles, you could actually hide the base
Hmm.
of it and covered the entire thing in plastics. And it gave us the opportunity to build like a fully mobile art installation.
That's
And
so
so
cool.
that faucet we ended up moving to 5 different places in Montreal, including uh, a a shipping, like a place filled with shipping containers, a beach, a recycling center. The same people that lended us the bottles for
Mhm.
the mermaids ended up lending us their facilities for a weekend.
Oh, cool.
Um, and and we even found a landfill. So we were trying to like highlight different aspects of the plastic pollution crisis. And so the exhibition that they ended up doing was a combination of the physical art piece and the video of how we did it, and all the different locations that we went to in order to pull this project off.
Oh.
Um, and that was the first time. And then the second version was actually a bunch, like some other artists uh, collective wanted to exhibit this concept at Art Basel,
Oh.
but I couldn't make it. So they just created a version of the faucet on their own for their events, which was a super cool feeling to like see the art emerge without me having to be directly involved. That's sort of like how a symbol grows.
Hmm.
And then, anyways, the third version of this ended up being at the United Nations Environmental Assembly, where the Global Plastics Treaty resolution was about to be signed. And this one, oh man, these are all like everyone is such a long story, but
It's okay. We have time. Tell me. I want to know.
but yeah, but this version was basically my friend Dave Ford from the Ocean Plastic Leadership Network thought it would be really interesting to try to bring this art installation there. He managed to hook me up with some crypto funders who were interested in pouring money into this, even though we didn't yet have permission.
Mm.
So we ended up using the money to build the art installation before we had permission from the United Nations. And so we got permission to build this Friday night at 5 p.m. for an 8 a.m. install on Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was super last minute. We just barely got it in time. We collected 3 tons of plastics from the slums of Kibera, which were just a couple miles away from where the United Nations headquarters were, in their with their pristine green lawns.
Oh,
We
wow.
hired like over 80 ladies who helped us cleaned and tie them all together, dragged all of that up to the United Nations, made a 4 story tall version
Amazing.
of the faucet. And this time, these 1,500 delegates from 193 countries were walking by this thing each and every day to discuss whether or not a global plastic treaty was important for us to turn off the plastic tap. And that one I think ended up, at the time I didn't realize how significant it was, but it ended up being adopted by the United Nations on their global plastics report. And I think
Mm.
anyone who works in plastics and policy has seen this art installation
Yeah.
and knows about it. And it's continued to grow. And so since then, More faucets have been created at UN Ocean Week in Lisbon. I have a free version, a cardboard version that anyone can download and make on their own
Is that the
um,
version that you
for
have for
students.
kids? How did,
Yeah, it's a cardboard plastic tap. It's been
oh,
created by hundreds of different students and all around the world. It's been absolutely phenomenal
oh,
to
I love
see
that.
it.
So is it like a template that you glue together from
It's a template.
cardboard? Oh, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I'll send it to you so that
Oh, thank you.
if you
Yeah.
know anyone that wants to use it, you're more than welcome to take it, adapt it, leverage it,
Oh, thank you. It might be
super fun.
me.
There you go. Yeah. It's pretty easy. It takes like a day, not even like half a day
To make the faucet, and then you just gotta
to make the faucet. Yeah.
collect the
I mean,
plastic.
gathering the materials and making
Yeah.
sure you have plastics and everything might take a little bit more time, but the actual build itself, as with most things, like the prep is where all the work goes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so true. No, that's amazing. And I love that you made it a project for that kids are able to do on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been the dance, right? Like you want to keep things exclusive so that you can actually make money off of it, but then you want to make it as accessible as possible so that it can grow into becoming like an accessible symbol for everyone. And so, yeah, it's a dance. It's a dance for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think you're absolutely right in making it accessible for kids because, you know, they are our future. However
They
cliche
are.
that statement is, they
Yeah,
are. And it's they need to know what's happening. And I
yeah,
think we do. Yeah. So, well,
yeah.
that's amazing. Gosh, I wrote down several installations that I want to ask you about, and I'm thinking, how much time do we have? What should I ask about? Um,
Uh,
I is there one specific that is your current favorite that you might want to tell me about?
my current favorite. I mean, I think maybe since we've talked so much about plastics and overconsumption, it would be cool to talk about the biochar phoenix
Oh,
that
yes,
I
it's
created.
on my list. Please tell me.
Yeah. So one of the, as I've tried hard to not be the trash boy, one of the cool technologies that I discovered and stumbled across was this thing called biochar. Biochar is basically like a form of charcoal, a form of carbon.
Mhm.
But you basically take organic material and convert it through a process called pyrolysis from like something organic into just like pure hard carbon. And so an analogy might be if you take toast and you put it in the oven for a long time, it's in a low oxygen environment. There's no oxygen circulating, so it's not catching on fire. But if you leave it for too long, it'll turn black.
Yeah.
That black stuff at the end is basically more or less carbon that's left over. And you can take this carbon, you can crumble it, you can put it in the soil, and it acts as this wonderful soil amendment to rehabilitate the soil. It's like, it's very porous, so it's really great for holding moisture and microorganisms and all these other things. And so it's a way to not only heal the soil but also to store carbon. So it's like a net positive in so many ways. And so biochar is originally an indigenous technology. Like
Oh,
we
wow.
hypothesize that it came out of like the Amazon rainforest and like the Incas and the Mayans and that they were doing this naturally, allowing organic waste to smolder.
Mhm.
And they have this sort of really fertile soil called terra preta in a place that traditionally has very little topsoil. And so and they're all next to civilizations, like where the cities used to be. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
um, and so this rediscovery of this has been really interesting, and it's such a popular way of sequestering carbon. It's so easy to verify. It's so easy to do that 89% of verified carbon removal credits is biochar based.
Oh, wow. Huh.
And yet so few people know of it. And so I thought, this is cool. Let's try to find a way of like building some art out of it. No one's really done anything large and vertical. And so we ended up creating a 6 meter tall phoenix
And where was this?
using 4 tons of carbon, which is a carbon footprint of the average person produced every single year.
Oh, wow.
And so it acts not only as like a visual representation of what you like when we say like we're putting carbon into the atmosphere, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Here you have like a physical representation of it, and you can see how much we actually produce.
Mhm.
And so, anyways, I built this in Thailand
Oh,
because that's where I found a person uh, Common Nui from Wong Pai. They had both a bamboo farm and knew about biochar.
Oh,
And they were really excited to partner in on this whole thing,
that's so
and work
cool.
on it together.
It's
Yeah,
that Phoenix is absolutely stunning. Definitely. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So what are you working on in 2025?
Ah, um, 2025. I mean, the thing is,
Or are
like,
you
I'm
thinking
never,
on 26 already? I don't know.
no, no, I am just never in control over what projects happen next. I can want something, but that doesn't mean that it'll actually happen because every project depends on A, do I get access? So if I want to do something at the United Nations, I can't just roll in and build it. I need to get permission.
Right.
And so first, I need to get permission. Second, I need to raise enough money. Third, I need to be capable of building a team with the amount of money that I raise.
Hmm.
And then fourth, I need to actually build the piece, right? So these four things need to happen, and very often they don't. And so either I'm going to successfully pull it off or not. And so in this moment, I'm attempting to build one at the United Nations Ocean Conference. That's where they're hoping the High Seas Treaty will get ratified. If it doesn't get there in time, then this installation will hopefully give countries that have signed the treaty opportunities to pressure the countries that haven't yet. It would
Ah.
give activist groups an opportunity to call them out.
Mhm.
Um, and if they do sign it in time, then it'll act as hopefully a symbol of like all the work that lies ahead. And so I think of it as a useful tool to communicate. And what I'm hoping to create for that one is a giant sculpture of the Earth,
Ooh.
where instead of the oceans, we have fishing nets. And
Ah.
inside of this fishing nets, we can tangle a bunch of different issues that are affecting the oceans, from bycatch, coral bleaching, plastics,
Hmm.
and just, help people visualize what that looks like.
Oh, I love that.
So
What would the
it's a
continents be made
concept.
from?
Yet to be determined. I mean, I think if it sort of depends on how big we build it. So if we're building it super large, it would make sense to just build the whole thing out of metal.
Mm.
Um, if it isn't, then we'll have to figure it out. Yeah. It could, we were thinking that like if we could find a proper waste stream, that could also be
Mm.
like we could do it out of plastics. I was just talking to this guy yesterday who came to my house and he has invented this thing he's calling plasticrete. So it's like plastic concrete
Oh.
that is created by heating up sand and fusing it with thin sheets of plastics like paper bags,
Aha.
and or plastic bags, and it does it without heating it so much that it off gases. So
Oh, wow.
it's just enough to fuse it together to create this like really dense layered textured surface that is actually pretty solid without making it too impossible. So
Oh,
I don't know. That could be a possibility. I'm not. I'm kind of not there yet. I'm at the phase of trying to get permission to build this thing.
gotcha. Wow. Well, good
Yeah.
luck with that. That sounds
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, this year right now, I have like nothing confirmed. There's like everything is a question at this stage, and that's kind of what it means to move through my life. I actually make most of my money in consulting and speaking engagements
Oh, that's
because
wonderful.
that's where you have the margins. So consulting would be a company comes up and they're like, "Oh, man, you do great work. I would love to pick your brain on like what you might create to communicate this complex issue." And I invite them into a multi-month consulting
Oh,
period where we brainstorm and think and ideate together. Um, and I operate on a retainer basis, and that's how I'm able to make money, like profit.
right.
And speaking engagements, where I speak for corporations, and I just spoke to Boston Consulting Groups and their leadership summit, and so I basically take these sort of environmental, social governance principles, and
Mhm.
I talk about them in a really creative, inspiring way.
Yeah, you are an excellent speaker. I have seen some of
Thank
those
you.
videos too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Wow. Yeah. Do you have a TED Talk?
I have 3 TEDx talks. I don't have a single
Oh,
TED main stage talk yet.
okay.
But
Yet.
these things will happen when they happen, if they happen. I used to be really um obsessed on trying to get that sort of validation. And I think these days I've just kind of given up. I'm like, it'll happen when it'll happen. If it'll happen, I just heads down, do the work that really matters and go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to be. Yeah.
Mm,
Well, thank you so much, Benjamin. This has been so fascinating and insightful.
thank you.
So I
Thanks for
appreciate.
having me on your show.
Oh yeah, this is a little project of love for me. So we'll see where it goes. But hey, season two. So
Hey,
thank you for
that's how it
being.
begins.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Wow, such a fascinating conversation. Benjamin is doing amazing things, and I cannot wait to see what the future will bring. What will he focus on next? Thank you for being here for it all, and I'll see you next time. This podcast was created, produced, and edited by me, Natalia Korover. Theme music by RC Gaida. To find out more about me, go to artbynatalia.com. To find out about my community, go to repurposercollective.com. And to learn with me, check out all my offerings at ecoloop.art. Thank you for listening.